So today we're going to jump right into it with a new Star Wars What If. We'll begin by asking the question at hand, what if the Viceroy killed Padme? For years he wanted her dead. Nute Gunray, Viceroy of the Trade Federation, blamed Padme Amidala for his issues ever since his failed attempt to take control of the Naboo system a full 10 years before the Clone Wars. As queen during the Naboo crisis, she was stubborn, evasive, and so influential. Even the potential suffering of her own people did not push her to sign a treaty with him. So instead, she had opted for war, eventually beating Gunray and his forces back and off the planet. This planted the seeds of desire within the Viceroy, the desire to have Amidala assassinated, even long after her term as the Queen of Naboo had ended. But then one day, he got his hands on her on the outer rim planet of Geonosis, and this is where our version of the story begins. As we look down into the massive arena, Viceroy Gunray, Count Dooku, and Jango Fett stood above, with Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan Kenobi battling for their lives below. As they broke free from chains, Viceroy grew enraged and ordered Jango Fett to shoot her, or something. And then this time, without interjection, Jango would do so. He would point his mask upward toward the sky and activate his jetpack. Then, hovering just above Padme as she fought off the Nexu, Fett squeezed the trigger of his West Star 34 blaster, and a red bolt drove into Padme's chest. The Senator was dead. But where does this put our story? What changes? Well, a few things. The downfall of Anakin Skywalker for one. Yes, he and Padme came together moments before her death and confessed a mutual love, assuming that they would die together. So the feelings were there for her, but they were not as strong as they would be in Revenge of the Sith. This is why that when Anakin looked over from the back of the large horned reek to see his love interest fall at the hands of the bounty hunter, that a slight impulse of darkness would take over him. The moment and dangers of the arena's beasts would fade from his mind, and he would focus in on Jango Fett. Anakin would reach a hand up toward the Mandalorian and curl his fingers backwards, causing Jango to become restrained in midair with his jetpack firing. It would almost look as though he was bound by chains, his arms pinned at his sides and his body rigid as Skywalker took hold of him through the Force. But then the voice of reason could be heard shouting in Anakin's left ear. Anakin, stop," yelled Obi-Wan, gripping at his Padawan's shoulder. And in that moment, Anakin Skywalker hesitated, squeezing tighter for just a moment, all before letting go. However, it was that moment of hesitation and consideration that sent Jango Fett to his death. Anakin's force grip had squeezed the jetpack itself, causing a turbine to rupture and hit the flame. And it all happened as Anakin snapped back to his right mindset by the guidance of his wise master. Now with this, I do strongly believe that Anakin would be better for a time, hurt and saddened though, but he is young enough and he and Padme had only been together for so long that he could recover, and perhaps even become the Jedi that he was meant to be. But still, in his Padawan learner years, he would have to learn to battle dark thoughts and also overcome them. However, this wouldn't be irregular for a Padawan or young Jedi. Not at all. These were the years that many often dealt with inner struggle and conflict. Then as for the galactic stage, I fear that Padme Amidala's death would not set much apart. She represented Naboo and democracy very well, but by the time the Clone Wars rolled around and Palpatine gained emergency powers, the Senate began to grow so corrupt and power-hungry that her voice of reason was a dying whisper in a sea of vibrant screams. Then in the deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith, we see Padme work to present the Chancellor with the Petition of the 2000, a large group of senators who were pushing Palpatine to drop his emergency powers. However, in that scene, Palpatine refused the delegation's petition, and then later we saw her working with Mon Mothma and Bail Organa to start a group of loyalists of democracy. But I feel that even with Padme Amidala dead years before this moment, that Bail Organa and Mon Mothma would still push forward with these plans that would eventually birth the Rebel Alliance. And as for who would take over as the Senator of Naboo, I sense Palpatine would find a way to move Jar Jar Binks into the position. He was easily swayed to begin the call for emergency powers, and he could be pressured again. Now that is a card that Palpatine will always play. So as you can see, this leaves the future of the story in a rather curious place. Anakin Skywalker would be left with an early trauma, but one that he could most likely work to overcome. And as Palpatine's odd behaviors pushed on, Republic loyalists would stand up in light and in the shadows to make plans to ensure that democracy would thrive, be it one day soon or one day later. However, this also means that we would never have gotten Luke or Leia. They would never have been born. The future in that respect remains unwritten if this ever went into play. But Padme Amidala would always die a beloved galactic figure, whether she died in childbirth or on Geonosis. She would die a queen, a friend, a senator, an upstanding citizen of the Galactic Republic. This has been Dank Ferric, and until the next time, stay safe and may the Force be with you, now and always.